Banana bread is the perfect excuse to have dessert for breakfast. You're getting in your daily serving of fruit, right? Banana bread is great because it makes use of those overripe bananas that have been sitting on the counter for too long because no one wanted to eat them. I have made over 100 loaves of banana bread, and with this recipe I wanted a banana bread that was just slightly healthier than most recipes out there while still being the best banana bread I've ever had. Today I'll be showing you how to make a banana bread that is moist, slightly healthy, and still has just the right amount of sweetness. The first thing we'll want to do is toast our walnuts. So take 60 grams of shelled walnuts, crush them using your hands, and then toss them into a small skillet over medium heat. Once you have all your walnuts in the pan, you'll want to swirl them around and give them a toss every so often to prevent them from burning, but also to encourage even toasting. Eventually you'll notice that your walnuts are starting to give off a strong nutty aroma. And this aroma will intensify as you continue cooking them. And you want to toast your walnuts as long as possible without burning them, and then transfer them into a small bowl to cool down. To prepare the dry ingredients, in a medium bowl add 160 grams of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Whisk everything together for about a minute so that everything is well combined, and then set aside. Next you'll need 3 large ripe bananas, but let's say you only have 1 ripe banana. What you can do is place this banana in the freezer, and when you have 3 bananas, you can take them out to defrost at room temperature, or you can even speed things up by defrosting them in the microwave. Peel your 3 bananas and then place them into a bowl, ideally one with a wide base. This will make mashing the bananas easier. You can mash your bananas using a potato masher, or if you don't have one, you can also just do this step using a fork. Mash your bananas until you have a consistency that is similar to what is shown here. Now what about those 3 frozen bananas I told you to defrost earlier? I know they don't look the most appetizing right now, but trust me, everything will be fine when it bakes. For these bananas, cut off the ends using a pair of scissors, cut a slit down the length of the banana, squeeze them out into the bowl, and then mash them all the same. These bananas do appear a little more watery compared to fresh bananas, but this won't have any impact on the final product. You can't tell the difference between a banana bread that has been made with fresh bananas and one that has been made with frozen bananas. To your mashed bananas, add 160 grams of light brown sugar and 120 grams of a mild olive oil. Whisk until everything is combined, then add in 2 large eggs, one at a time. Adding in your eggs one at a time help emulsify the fat and liquid, which will improve the final texture of our banana bread. Once your eggs are well mixed in, add in 30 grams of sour cream, 30 grams of whole milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 5 grams of salt, and 80 grams of rolled oats. Mix everything together until it's well combined, and then add in your pre-mixed dry ingredients. Fold in your dry ingredients using a silicone spatula. Mix your batter just until you no longer see any dry bits of flour. Over-mixing can develop the gluten in the flour, and this can toughen the final texture of your banana bread. Grease a 9x5 loaf pan, and then transfer in your finished batter. To your bowl of nuts, mix in 110 grams of dark chocolate chips. My chocolate chips are 53% cacao, and if you're using something sweeter like Nestle's semi-sweet chocolate chips, then I would reduce the amount of chocolate to about 90 grams. Evenly distribute your mixture of nuts and chocolates along the top of the loaf. If you could use 60% cacao for your chocolate, that would be even better. Larger morsels are preferable to smaller ones because they create larger pockets of chocolate instead of small bits of chocolate dispersed throughout your loaf. If you are having trouble finding chocolate chips that fit these requirements, you can chop up a 60% cacao chocolate bar. Using the tip of a silicone spatula, gently mix in your nuts and chocolate so that they are just below the surface. You do not need to mix your chocolate too deep because they will naturally sink as the loaf bakes. And this is the reason why we do not add chocolate to our mixing bowl, because if we did, all of the chocolate would end up sticking to the bottom of the loaf pan. Transfer your loaf pan onto the center rack of an oven that has been preheated to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, 165 degrees Celsius, using the convection setting if you have it. Bake your banana bread for 60 to 70 minutes or until it has an internal temperature of 210 degrees Fahrenheit or when a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. Let your banana bread cool at least for 1 hour before attempting to remove it from the pan. And when you're ready to remove it, just go around the outside using a knife, then gently pry on the loaf to help loosen it even further. And now, if you give your pan a good shake, your banana bread should break free from the pan. Now, because we used oats in place of some of the flour, the banana's bread structure is going to be a little weaker, and while it can be enjoyed now, it'll slice a lot easier once it has chilled in the fridge overnight. While I said in the beginning that you can have banana bread for breakfast, doing that every day probably isn't the healthiest thing. But like I showed you earlier, you could freeze your bananas, so whenever you feel like making banana bread, just take them out to defrost. If you're not a fan of walnuts, believe me, I wasn't either. But taking the time to toast them really brings a new dimension to their flavor, and they just go unbelievably well with the dark chocolate. Not to mention, they're also a good source of omega-3s, so another bonus point for having banana bread for breakfast. And also, let's not forget about the fact that we're using oats and olive oil instead of butter. Our body will thank us just as much as our taste buds. If you're looking for another way to get more fruits in your diet while still eating a delicious dessert, you can check out my apple pie video. As always, all ingredient amounts and their volumetric conversions can be found detailed in the description. And if you give this recipe a try, I'd love to know how it stacks up against other banana breads you've made, so please be sure to let me know down in the comments. If you like this video, remember to give it a like and share it with your friends and family. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. And thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.